The encrypted phone rang at 3:22 a.m. in a submarine 200 meters beneath the Baltic Sea. The voice on the other end spoke only 4 words in Russian. Krasny Oktyabr is authorized. Red October. The code name for the most audacious act of economic warfare in modern history. In 20 minutes, Putin was about to destroy Europe's energy future, cut the continent's lifeline to Russian gas, and reshape global power forever. But this wasn't an act of war. This was an act of calculated genius that would make Russia more powerful by appearing weaker. The explosion happened at exactly 4:03 a.m. on September 26, 2022. Deep beneath the Baltic Sea, charges detonated along the Nord Stream pipelines. Billions of dollars of infrastructure, Russia's own infrastructure, disappeared in a fireball of twisted metal and escaping gas. The world assumed it was sabotage. Everyone blamed Putin. But nobody understood why Russia would destroy its own most valuable weapon: Europe's energy dependency. Here's what really happened in those crucial 20 minutes, and why Putin's decision would prove to be the most brilliant strategic move of the 21st century. September 25th, 2022, 11:47 p.m. Moscow time. Putin sat alone in his underground bunker beneath the Kremlin, staring at intelligence reports that would change everything. The reports were devastating. Europe was winning the energy war. Despite 9 months of reduced gas supplies, European nations had filled their storage facilities to 90% capacity. They had found alternative suppliers, built new terminals for American LNG, developed emergency sharing agreements. Worst of all, they were preparing to survive winter without Russian gas entirely. Putin's energy weapon, the lever that had controlled European politics for 20 years, was becoming worthless. Mr. President, his energy advisor Nikolai Shulganov spoke carefully. If Europe successfully winters without our gas, they will never need us again. Our leverage disappears permanently. Putin studied the maps showing European gas reserves, alternative supply routes, new infrastructure. His greatest fear was becoming reality. Europe was breaking free. That's when Putin made the decision that would shock the world. If Russia couldn't control European energy, nobody could. 12:08 a.m. Putin activated a secure communication line that connected directly to Russian naval special forces in the Baltic Sea. The conversation lasted exactly 20 minutes. Operation Krasny Oktyabr is authorized, Putin announced to his most trusted commanders. Target: both Nord Stream pipelines. Timeline: 4 hours. The room fell silent. Putin was ordering the destruction of Russia's own multi-billion-dollar infrastructure. Sir, Admiral Nikolai Yevmenov looked confused. These are our pipelines, our investment, our leverage over Europe. Putin's response would define Russian strategy for the next decade. Better to rule over ashes than serve in paradise. 12:28 a.m. The authorization codes were transmitted to submarine Belgorod, positioned precisely above the Nord Stream pipelines. Captain Dmitry Volkov received orders that violated every principle of naval warfare: destroy your own nation's strategic assets. But Volkov understood Putin's genius. This wasn't destruction. This was strategic transformation. 1:15 a.m. Final preparations began aboard Belgorod. Underwater demolition charges were positioned along both Nord Stream 1 and Nord Stream 2 pipelines. The explosives were carefully calibrated. Maximum damage, minimum evidence of Russian involvement. Putin wanted the world to suspect Russia but never prove it. Suspicion without proof was perfect for Russian strategic ambiguity. 2:45 a.m. Putin made a second phone call, this one to President Lukashenko of Belarus. The conversation was brief but crucial. Alexander, in 1 hour, Russia's relationship with Europe changes forever. Are you prepared? Lukashenko, understanding the implications, simply replied, "Da." Belarus would become Russia's primary energy transit route to China and India. The pipelines that once fed Europe would be redirected eastward. 3:22 a.m. The final authorization call to Belgorod. Captain Volkov confirmed target positioning and detonation sequence. In 41 minutes, Europe's energy security would cease to exist. But Putin had one more surprise planned. 3:45 a.m. As charges were being armed beneath the Baltic Sea, Putin activated Russia's most sophisticated disinformation network. Within hours, evidence would emerge suggesting American, British, or Ukrainian involvement in the sabotage. The genius was perfect. Russia would destroy its own pipelines, blame the West, and gain sympathy as the victim while achieving its strategic objective of permanently severing Europe's energy dependence. 4:03 a.m. The explosions were visible from space. Seismic monitors registered 2.3 magnitude earthquakes. Gas bubbles rose to the Baltic Sea surface in massive plumes that continued for days. In seconds, 40 billion cubic meters of natural gas, enough to power Germany for 2 months, escaped into the atmosphere. But the real impact wasn't environmental. It was psychological. 4:30 a.m. European emergency meetings convened across the continent. The initial reaction was exactly what Putin had calculated: panic, followed by accusations, followed by the realization that Europe's Russian gas dependency was permanently severed. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz spoke for all of Europe. "This changes everything. We can never again depend on Russian energy." Putin had achieved his objective. Europe couldn't return to Russian gas dependency even if they wanted to. The infrastructure was gone. But here's the brilliant part. Russia immediately redirected those gas supplies to China and India at higher prices. The Power of Siberia pipeline became Russia's new energy lifeline. 6 a.m. Moscow time. Putin addressed the Russian Security Council with words that would define the new global energy order. "We have just liberated Europe from their addiction to Russian gas. Now they are free to freeze in the dark while we warm Asia." The strategic implications were staggering. By destroying Nord Stream, Putin had, first, made European reconciliation with Russia impossible. No future European leader could promise restored energy cooperation. The infrastructure was gone. Second, forced Russia to pivot permanently toward Asia. China and India became Russia's primary energy customers, paying premium prices for guaranteed supply. Third, demonstrated that Russia would rather destroy billions in assets than allow them to be used as leverage against Russian interests. Fourth, created permanent European energy insecurity. Without Russian gas, Europe became dependent on expensive American LNG and unreliable renewable sources. The destruction of Nord Stream wasn't an act of desperation. It was calculated strategic genius disguised as self-destructive madness. Within 6 months, Russia was selling more energy to Asia than it had ever sold to Europe. Chinese and Indian payments in yuan and rupees helped Russia bypass Western financial sanctions. Europe, meanwhile, faced the highest energy prices in history. Industrial production declined. Political stability weakened. The European Union's unity cracked under economic pressure. Putin had transformed Russia's greatest vulnerability, European energy dependency, into Europe's greatest vulnerability, permanent energy insecurity. September 26, 2022. One phone call, 20 minutes. 4 explosions beneath the Baltic Sea. The day Putin broke Europe forever by breaking his own pipelines. The world called it sabotage. Putin called it liberation. Russia was finally free from the burden of European dependence. The Nord Stream pipelines still lie broken on the Baltic Sea floor. But their destruction achieved something no military victory could. It permanently severed the economic ties that bound Russia to the West. Putin's 20-minute call didn't just destroy pipelines, it destroyed the possibility of Russian-European reconciliation. And in that destruction, Putin found exactly what he was seeking: a Russia that could never again be tempted by Western integration. Sometimes the most powerful move is destroying your own pieces. Putin learned that lesson and reshaped global energy markets forever. What do you think? Was Putin's decision brilliant strategic thinking or catastrophic self-destruction? The debate continues, but the results speak for themselves. Russia pivoted to Asia, Europe scrambled for alternatives, and the global energy order changed permanently. Share your thoughts in the comments below. This story has implications that are still unfolding today. If this deep dive into energy geopolitics revealed something you hadn't considered, hit that like button and subscribe for more analysis of the moves that reshape our world. Until next time, remember, in geopolitics, sometimes victory looks like defeat, and the most dangerous enemies are those with nothing left to lose.